Dragon Ball Super has had its ups and downs in 2016 with lots of good and bad things that have come from the series. And here today, guys, I am joined by SuperSaiyanPaul and the Dai Shinkan Emosh as we discuss the pros and cons of Dragon Ball Super in 2016. The links to their channels will be located down in the description below, guys. Be sure to subscribe and check out their channels. Welcome, guys, and Happy New Year's to both of you guys. Have a wonderful, what a wonderful way to close off the year. Now that Dragon Ball has brought us a lot of good stuff, good and bad things to the table this year, in terms of content, of course, and substance. So I wanted to take the time to ask you guys individually on what some of your pros and cons were with Dragon Ball Super this year. And I want to start with Paul. So Paul, if you can name some of the pros that we've had this year through your opinion, of course. And of course, if you guys have your own opinions to add on, just post your comments down below. But Paul, I want to know some of the pros that has come out, from Dragon Ball Super through your perception, and which is going to lead us to the cons. But first, I want to know what you believe Dragon Ball Super has done right this year.
The things that I think they did right was giving us a blast from the past, especially with the Goku Black arc and Trunks returning and stuff like that. One of the favorite characters of all time, and finally getting to see an evil Goku. I think a lot of these are what if scenarios that we always wanted, and I think those are what we finally got. Didn't end the way we wanted them to, but at least we got some type of what if scenarios, don't you think?
Right, kind of like nostalgia in a way, because they definitely went off fan service, because a lot of us have wanted to see for years some sort of an evil Goku and stuff. There were many cons to a lot of these great moments, but I would have to say, yeah, I think the both of you can agree that this was definitely a fan service to a lot of us when it came down to certain things. But what are some of the other things that you thought Dragon Ball Super did good this year?
I think they did the tournament good. I think they did even the slice of life episodes were pretty good in my opinion. I missed the driving episode. I was like, dude, I didn't mind it if we got any filler from Dragon Ball Super. As long as we got more Dragon Ball, that was fine with me. I didn't have any problems with anything. And I think they stepped up the animation compared to last year's episode 5. Everything really stepped up. The only thing that I would say was bad in terms of animation was the recent one that I can remember was episode 72. But other than that, the fighting scenes, man, they were on point.
There were many things that I believe definitely made Dragon Ball Super a lot superior to Dragon Ball Z in some respects this year. But going off the premise of positives, Emosh, what are some of the positives that you've seen personally through your opinion from Dragon Ball Super that you felt was a necessity and a good thing for the series coming out this year?
Well, once again, thanks for having me on. It's always appreciated.
No problem.
So I agree with I agree with Paul. And I think everybody's when it comes to the positive, the ultimate positive that you could actually think of when it comes to getting people to either watch Dragon Ball for the first time, or people who are diehard fans who've been waiting for something like this since forever, who never really expected for Dragon Ball to make any kind of comeback whatsoever. I think the best way to hit the nail on the head in that aspect is to bring back that fan service, that nostalgia. We even got to see Master Roshi kick some ass when Frieza brought his army, to fight everybody, whether it's the movie or even the series. We got to see things like that. We got to see the Mafuba, the whole Black Goku thing. I think that was a twist, not so much of I'm not sure if that was a fan service. Me myself, I've never really wanted to see an evil Goku. I never even thought that was possible given Goku's nature. But I think that was it was a breath of fresh air in terms of seeing someone not only evil but that demented and twisted, but at the same time also right in a certain aspect. Yes. And I kind of like how they handled in the beginning the whole Zamasu arc. I like how you had a race or someone, basically a race of a certain race who is destined or by nature, destined to be someone who is above everything else, but in a positive way, only to turn and rebel against their own kind. Literally, being the black sheep of their entire race and going based on their own beliefs. I think that was something fresh. But ultimately, it comes down to the whole fan service thing. Getting to see Vegito again was pretty cool, even though we didn't see him for that long. Getting to see Gotenks, getting to see, again, future Trunks, getting to see Master Roshi kick some ass, the Mafuba.
Right.
The list goes on and on. I think everybody can agree when it comes to that.
I would have to agree with both of you guys. I would also have to say that even from the very beginning when we saw Goku fight Hit, everyone had their conflictions with this Universal Tournament. Everyone was saying it was good. Some people thought it was bad. Most people thought it was very predictable. However, I think that it was very satisfying to see a character emerge that was able to push Super Saiyan Blue. Although in the manga, it didn't really happen that way.
Right.
But in the anime, for the first time ever since we saw the conception of Super Saiyan Blue, somebody came along and he put Super Saiyan Blue down. That being hit when he knocked out Vegeta. Vegeta being the same person that prior to that beat the shit out of Golden Frieza. And Golden Frieza was incredibly powerful during that time because we saw the way the pressure on his body kept up and he was able to compete against a Super Saiyan Blue. But now here comes along a character who managed to quickly use a new technique that we've never seen before, that being time skip, and execute it to a degree where every single time he was hurt or he would feel provoked, or at least he would feel vulnerable in terms of like being on the defensive, he would grow, he would improve. So not only would he improve, but his time skip would improve. So I thought that was a really cool thing because we haven't seen that in a long time. And plus, even Goku was dumbfounded when he fought him. He was like, "What the hell?" Like, if I think that if it wasn't for Jocko, they all would have lost because Jocko. Well, I take that back. It was, I believe, the Galactic King. It was somebody who pointed out time skip first before Goku did. I don't want to say Piccolo. I don't really remember, but someone insinuated that he was moving throughout time.
Jocko's boss brought his attention.
Jocko spotted Frost, but we also had, again, fan service, Goku Black. Now, some people might say, well, how is that fan service? I'm not really familiar with other animes too much, but I'm pretty sure that in other animes we've seen sort of like evil counterparts to our main characters. I'm sure, Paul, I mean, you watched Naruto. Wasn't there like an evil Naruto or something like that happening in the show?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of difficult to compare them because there's a lot more character development in those shows. And, like,
right. But what I'm saying is, like, every single anime in Japan, in essence, has like an alternate evil version. And although it's not actually Goku's consciousness that's being portrayed as evil, it was somebody else, as Emish said, you know, the black sheep of the gods coming down and trying to bear his judgment upon humans and stuff. It was great. So I think that, again, fan service, indefinite. Like, every single one of us have wanted to see fusion since like day one, and everyone kept saying it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen, it's not gonna happen, and it finally happened.
Right.
Although it was short, that was still pretty good to see. I think that overall, the slice of life episodes made our characters feel more organic and not like shoved down your throat, because we get to see like an alternate side to everybody, like Vegeta. I mean, who would have thought Vegeta would spend time with future Trunks and train him and even care about Goku? I mean, in Dragon Ball Z, he never gave a shit about Goku, but now he needs him to improve and do better and stuff. So that, I think, was great. The villains, I guess Zamasu is the only technical villain because Hit can't really be considered a villain. So throughout 2016, when we had Goku, Black, and Zamasu, which is Zamasu. But in terms of the cons, now this is where things are going to get very interesting. Again, guys, don't witch hunt. Don't spread negativity. We're only stating our opinions and giving constructive criticism on the show, because there were certain things that I felt, that Paul felt, that Emish felt, took away from the show. Now, I want to start with Emish. What do you believe were some of the cons in Dragon Ball Super?
Well, if I could just add one more positive to the show. Go ahead. I kind of like how they split the gap between power, not so much power scaling or level, but they created a new class of power. We have Gods of Destruction, we have and higher beings, even higher, like the Dai Shinkan, Omni King. So now the Saiyans don't seem to be as strong as they used to be. So it's something, I think it adds, I guess, for some kind of freshness. The only drawback is we haven't really seen entirely what they're capable of, except for Beerus when he fought Goku for the first time, etc. But I like how they've added a new tier of power. I think that's essentially been something that the show has needed for quite some time, because it's been pretty much the same thing where, okay, Goku and Vegeta will reach a new certain level of power, then you got another villain that's just as strong, and yada yada yada. The cycle repeats itself. But now we have this level of power that technically, I mean, as of right now, is unreachable, which is something I think that we need to see. Now, as far as the personally, in my opinion, I guess the cons, I didn't like how they started off Dragon Ball Super like in the beginning. I think it took a long time for it to actually like hit off, because the first few episodes were kind of like whatever. And from a perspective where to say, let's say if I was a new viewer and let's say you and Paul would have said, okay, Emish, why don't you check this anime out? And I would have looked at it for the first 20 episodes. I would have been like, what the hell is this? So I think they took a while to actually get it started. But other than that, it goes down again to the Zamasu arc. What started off so great had its pretty big flaws in terms of how they executed the whole Black Goku ended up being Zamasu thing. I felt like they led us to believe that it wasn't Zamasu because they did give us a few episodes and previews, and literally in the text previews, the subtitles, it would say, okay, well, so he's not Zamasu after all. Then 2 weeks later, we found out that he is. Then it kind of looked like they went back to the drawing board and they just said, okay, you know what? Let's just go back to him being Zamasu. Let's stick with this story. Then the whole, like, for example, now there's like 2 future Trunkses and 2 Mai's in one timeline that coexist together. And then we had like the way they ended the whole Zamasu arc where Trunks became Jesus incarnate, like you said.
Yeah, he was Christ.
He had all sorts of these moves, and I don't know what
and
the hell
that's Paul's
happened.
favorite character too.
Right, no, again, I listen, he was such a badass. I love Trunks in Super. I love him to death. But I think just like you mentioned, where it says where you said they didn't really shove anybody down our throat. I think they shoved Trunks down our throat ultimately. Now, and I agree that he should have been the one to end everything
because that's his
completely
story.
Agree with that. Exactly. But, I mean, in terms of his development and power, him learning the Mufuba in like 30 seconds, him having the Spirit Bomb sword and all this other stuff, even though some of it was explained, and recently we just found out that his new form was called Super Saiyan Rage. To my understanding, you being in a rage is a temporary thing. Trunks seems to have mastered it, so it's something that he can go on and off with, so I'm not sure how that works. But ultimately, my only issue was the whole how they didn't really get how they introduced Vegito, and then it was like for a couple minutes they made him look like a joke. I think that was it really. I think they started off something so good, and then they rushed it towards the end, and then it just became like like okay, well, it left a sore taste in some people's mouth. I feel in my opinion.
Right. And what about you, Paul? Because I know you have your opinions as to what you felt was bad about the show. So what did you think? Well, ultimately dislike about Dragon Ball Super this year, and felt like it kind of took away from the show?
I mean, I felt like they did the Champ arc pretty good. The only thing that I really have complaints about was just the way they ended the Goku Black arc. We wanted to see more Vegito. We wanted to see like maybe another episode or 2 of him. And the fact that he got nerfed, that also kind of ruined what we had in mind. After all of the hype from the movies, from the hyping up of Goku and Vegeta finally working together, we didn't really get that to like the fullest that we expected. So that was let down. Even though I still loved it, I loved every second of that episode. The animation was on point. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
It was just cut short, and they nerfed one of the greatest characters of all time. But on top of that, I agree with what Emosh said. It was just the fact that Trunks pulled moves out of his ass. That kind of killed some of his character.
His
for me.
momentum, yeah.
Right.
It was like he always worked for things. It was like you saw him going to the chamber during the Cell Saga, working for his moves and stuff, and then this stuff came out of nowhere.
Yes, exactly.
Where did this come from?
He struggled. It seemed like he had so much more to struggle for. To develop, and at that point, he wasn't even fighting for his whole timeline. He was just trying to impress his father, and even then, it took for him to die for Vegeta to actually take notice. In this scenario, what we had now, it was just like Paul said, he pulled it out of his ass, and okay, let's get on to the next thing now. You know what I mean? But ultimately, now that we're past it, I think now it's just going to be about what the hell is going to happen in the next upcoming arc. I'm not sure if that's the topic of this discussion, but generally speaking, now that that's gone and done with, I don't think at this point we could probably just say, okay, well, 2016's gone, let's just forget about it and get on with our lives.
No, absolutely. And I felt like, going back to what Paul said, the Champa arc, the whole Universal Tournament, I think that there was a huge flaw in that tournament because there was nothing major at stake. Okay, sure, yeah, we're going to switch Earths. That's it? That's what you're going to be holding on the line for everyone to take the fight serious. However, in the Universe Survival arc, we have the wager of the multiverse at risk. So everyone is forced to really just go in there and give it their all. Otherwise, guess what? You're dead. Yeah. So I felt like the Champa arc, although we had the entire planet as risk here, like you saw it firsthand. Like Goku, he went all out. He went all out against Hit. But towards the very end, like, he just caved in. He was like, we're not pawns and blah, blah, blah. And the way Hit just gave up to Monaka, it was very unexpected. And it was very predictable that Universe 7 was going to win. But I think that's what took away from that specific arc was the fact that it became a little too predictable. And then the summertime came. Girls, beach, lifting weights, whatever.
Right.
But here comes Goku Black. Everyone's like, who? What? Who is this guy? And throughout the entire summer, every single person was wondering as to who Goku Black was. Everyone was, I mean, it was ranging from Goten to Gowasu to Zamasu to Goku's dead body being reincarnated back from the future Trunks timeline. Everyone was throwing speculations out there, and it turns out that it was Zamasu in the future who decided to take the Dragon Balls and, you know, use the wish for his own selfish desires. Although Emish had, I know you had a huge problem with this because they could have easily developed this and told the story a little differently where it made a little bit more sense. Because I know when they made the big reveal that it was Zamasu, you were just like, this is bullshit,
right
because
away.
you made us believe that this was somebody new. This was somebody, although it sounded like it was someone that we've seen before, because when he came into the past for the first time, he looked at everyone. He was like, Vegeta, Beerus-sama, like he knew everybody, and we were all like, oh, wait a minute, he knows everybody. It's not like he went in there all confused, and then it turns out to be Zamasu. So another flaw, I think, was not only in the poor writing, but the execution in development towards the very end, as we spoke about Vegito. I think it kind of made sense for them to retcon that a little bit, because you don't want to have Vegito exist permanently, because at that very point, God knows how strong he can get if he were to continuously fight on and just gain Zenkai boost. Like, he would become dangerous. I mean, let's be honest here. But the whole retcon about, all right, 1 hour, fine. You want to keep the 1 hour factor, that's no problem. However, in the actual duration of the fight, he burned out after like 5-10 minutes, and that was because of one final Kamehameha. That's what you're gonna give us, and they crammed all of that in one episode. They gave us Goku going Kaioken, Vegito and Zamasu getting cut in half. They crammed all that in one episode that lasted about 22 minutes. So we have this magical form, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, being utilized like so easily, as all he did was kick Zamasu in the face. He blew away his supernova with his Kamehameha. Then you revert to Vegito, in which case Vegito is kicking ass and he's taunting a god, only for you to revert back to defusing them, to have Trunks summon the powers of Christ and merging that power into a sword and cutting Zamasu from the balls up. That's savage. That's just like, you crammed all that in one episode, and with all these filler episodes that are now out, I felt like they could have marinated that and milked that just at least 1 or 2 more episodes. So yeah, definitely. I know you guys have like your own take as to what's going on now, because I don't know about how you guys felt about Hit versus Goku. I hated it because of the way it ended. So since that was recent, I wanted to ask you guys about the whole situation between the whole who put the hit out and stuff. I want to begin with you, Paul. So, like, what did you think of that? Did you like that or not? Because I felt like it was a total slap in the face, and it was a total lazy way of approaching the fight between Goku and Hit. So what do you think? I'm
not going to completely rip on it, because, I mean, it's a decent way of training if you really think about it, just to get Hit to go all out. But can I just point something out? Besides from Hit, right? And all of these arcs and everything, you know, Beerus has been introduced in, like, what, 2013? That's when Battle of Gods came out? We're moving on to 2017 now, and it's been almost 4 years, and Goku still hasn't surpassed him?
Well, that's what Akira Toriyama made perfectly clear in an interview quite a while back. He said that as of right now, there are 0 plans of having Goku and Vegeta surpass Beerus. That's his initiative. And I don't think, quite honestly, it'll make sense for them to exceed Beerus. Yes, and I understand people might witch hunt and say, well, what are you talking about? They've trained so hard and so long. Yes.
I mean, even in that first movie, how much percentage of Beerus's power?
That's completely retconned. That's gone.
He lied to him. He lied to him, didn't he?
That's all completely gone now. They've retconned that. Battle of Gods, the whole power siege between 6, 10, and 15, all that's gone. So because I wanted to ask you guys, speaking of that, both of you, I'm going to start with Paul. Well, since you spoke about Hit real fast, the follow-up question to that is, what do you think about Goku and Vegeta going into 2017? Because this year, I mean, we've seen them grow, we've seen them train together and stuff, but like, what did you think of like the whole sequence of them remaining the way they are as Super Saiyan Blue so far, and not exceeding that and going beyond to possibly Super Saiyan Blue 2 or whatever the case may be?
You see, at least they added Kaioken into the factor here, because that mixed it up a little bit, because we've seen Super Saiyan Blue for what it feels like forever now.
Yeah.
But for this year, 2016, I think this year, even though it's the Goku and Vegeta show for the most part, because all those Year Warriors are complete garbage, I feel like it's still mainly in Goku's favor. I think it's been the year of Goku, honestly, because Vegeta, he can't really compare to him too much with all these buffs and stuff that Goku's getting, and Goku plus Goku Black, all the hype around that. I think it's been the year of Goku, if anything.
And what are your thoughts on this, Emish, beginning with the whole sequence with hitting Goku? Because I'm telling you, I think it was just rubbish. But what are your thoughts on that particular filler, I guess you could say? And what are your thoughts, again, following up to Goku and Vegeta training so hard and so long, and for there not to be any significant change in terms of appearance or even power? Because, yeah, they've gained Zenkai boost and they've grown stronger, but again, not real significant difference here, because we've seen other characters, i.e. Black and Merge Zamasu, and even Hit as right now, take them down. So what are your thoughts on all that?
I'm sorry. All right. So, if I to touch up on the whole Hit thing, first of all, if it's not so much filler, here's why it's not filler, and it's something that I'm not sure if anybody else has talked about yet on YouTube. But if we remember back then, when Whis was training Vegeta and Goku on Beerus's planet, I think for the first time or something like that,
yeah.
And he revealed to them what their weaknesses are, right? He told Vegeta what his weaknesses, he needs to relax more like Goku does, etc. However, Goku had a major flaw, which we've seen time and time again, where he's too confident or he relaxes way too much to the point where he gets struck down by simple things. Okay, so now he needs to learn how to keep his guard up more. Now, if we look at episode 71 and 72, guess what? That entire episode, he had his guard up. In essence, it was training for then. The fact that Whis already knew that Goku was in training adds to my suspicion that as to why this was kind of a genius move on Goku's part, where I'm not so much sure as to the whole hiring Hit to kill him thing. I'm not sure I completely agree with that. But at the same time, if he did it for training purposes, I can understand why in this aspect, because this is in fact Goku's major primary weakness. And if he could polish up that weakness where he could learn to keep his guard up, he could learn to sense different forms of energies, whether they're real or fake, I think going into the Universal Survival Tournament, it's going to be a major key factor. Not only that, it might not even require him to achieve a new transformation if he becomes this much of a total package. Because right now, I would say, in my opinion, the total package fighter is Piccolo, because he's the kind of fighter that, he keeps his guard up. He's able to analyze things very quickly, right? He doesn't, and even though he's not necessarily as strong as Goku, at the same time, he is the total package, and that's something that Goku needs to be at this point, especially going into the next arc. So I think, in my opinion, this was a genius move, though it might not be explained by the developers that way. According to the episode, it just looked like some BS episode. They didn't really, a Hit comes with this new superpower. He's like Obito and Madara from Naruto. He has Limbo, he has Kamui and all this other stuff. But at the same time, I think from my perspective, this was an episode that allowed Goku to train and polish up on his primary weakness, which is letting down his guard all the time, and having Hit, who is someone who comes at you out of nowhere, is the best example, is the best person to have go against Goku at this standpoint. As far as Goku and Vegeta developing, like I said, if this is how they're going to take it, I'm okay with it, only because I think if they achieve different transformations in terms of Super Saiyan God level, I think it's expected for Dragon Ball, because in Dragon Ball we need transformations. That's what keeps everything exciting. But if, like Paul said, if they add certain things like Kaioken and Vegeta just getting stronger and stronger and stronger, I think that might be okay too. But for example, going into the Universal Survival Tournament, I think they might want to rethink how they're going to address this whole transformation thing. I don't want to see them just hand out transformations out the ass.
Oh my God, that goes back to Trunks, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's another thing that just ticks me off, because you're going to give us all of these like new little abilities and things, but you're not explaining to us as to how it's done, how they even figured out a way how to achieve that. It's just, all right, Trunks becomes a Super Saiyan Rage, no explanation, not even Goku and Vegeta hindering on the fact like, hey, what's that? Like, and Vegeta can be like, I don't know, it could be something new. Like, having the characters within themselves talk to each other about what the heck was that, but instead, Vegeta and Goku completely disregarded the idea that Trunks just achieved something that they've never seen before, and they're acting as if like, okay, that's it, whatever, let's just continue to handle business. And the idea that Trunks knows the Galagun, the Final Flash, the Mafuba, the Spirit Bomb, and he'd never seen Goku do that, but he embedded that within the sword, and then we have him have like a new transformation and stuff. For the idea for them not to explain it, I believe takes away, because what's Trunks? Is he Christ? Is he Jesus Christ? Because that's what I felt like he was. Yes, I agree with him saving the story and defeating Zamasu. It made sense. His mom died. His timeline was in trouble. If you had Goku or Vegeta or even Vegito be the heroes, I think that would have been a mere reflection of what happened during the Cell Saga with Gohan having to defeat the android that, Trunks was there to warn about and stuff. So that was Trunks' problem, but instead Gohan handled it. So I'm actually kind of happy that Trunks was the one to handle his own problem. However, it was the lack of explanation. What is Super Saiyan Rose? In the manga, we're going to have a clear explanation. And in the manga, Goku Black becomes Super Saiyan 2 before achieving Super Saiyan Rose because Vegeta asked him, he asked Goku Black, can you achieve Super Saiyan Blue? And Goku Black responded by saying, no, not yet at least. So then he transformed into Super Saiyan Blue, and when they fought over time, Zamasu came down, he healed him, and then we cut off the chapter. And in the next chapter, we're going to have Super Saiyan Rose, and in chapter number 19, it was said that the variation of Super Saiyan Rose is that of a corrupt version of Super Saiyan Blue. Did they explain that in the show? No. We all sat there like, okay, all right, Super Saiyan Rose, cool, nice transformation. Right. What the fuck is it? Like, we don't know. So I felt like it was a lack of explanation. I'm not trying to say explain every little bit of detail here, but there were a lot of things that bugged people, like Trunks' blue hair, like the overall corruption of Super Saiyan Rose. What is it? People complained. So I want to know from you guys if there's anything Dragon Ball Super did right in terms of explanations, because we all know about the things that they've done wrong. What are some of the good things you would have to say they've done well with explaining? And I'll start with you, Paul.
In their defense, maybe that could be part of their plan. Maybe the exposition was just saved for the manga and the hardcore fans that want to look out for it. Maybe that's a way of getting to read the manga, because the fact that the actual show is ahead of the manga, maybe this is their direction in getting you guys to get that exposition, to get you guys to read it.
Right.
Like, that's a good way to do it, I guess, if you guys really wanted it. I mean, you're reading it regardless.
It makes sense. I mean, if you look at it from a point where it's like, okay, because I think now Dragon Ball Super, they're trying to cater to two different kind of viewers. One are the diehard fans, and two are the casual people who just watching this for the first time, who don't really want that explanation. They want to get on with the next episode. They want to get on with everything. They just want something to watch when they come home on a weekend or something like that. Right, exactly. So just like Paul mentioned, it's not. I mean, I wouldn't say it's in their defense, because again, we're diehard fans. We need to know everything because we cover it. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I will agree to that extent that perhaps they are trying to cater. I think it's pretty apparent at this point that they are trying to cater to two separate kinds of viewers, because it's not what it used to be. The generation's changing every year, like you mentioned. Every year the generation changes. What people expect out of everything, it changes. So I think nowadays they're trying to cater to two different kinds of people, and maybe we have been too hard on them. But at the same time, the same way, if we put out content out there, if we make a video, and somebody, a bunch of people give you a bunch of dislikes or negative comments about it, it's expected. But at the same time, you just got to keep doing it, and yeah. So I think that's what they're trying to do, just cater to two different kinds of viewers at this point.
I feel like Dragon Ball Super has definitely delivered this year. I don't want to say too much on the idea that, they've neglected us back in 2015, because, I mean, let's be honest here. In 2015, they haven't really provided us with any content other than the beginnings of Dragon Ball, right? So we're only going based off of 2016, and for the most part, we've had lots of great moments that we were all like, oh, that was pretty dope, and other moments where we were like, that was complete and utter bullshit. But going into 2017, I want to ask both of you, do you guys believe that Dragon Ball Super will be better than how it was this year? Or do you believe it'll just fall beneath it, just fall short of meeting those expectations? Because yes, we have this grand universal tournament and everyone's involved. However, also there is no indication that this is going to end. I mean, I'm pretty sure with Shoei's show, with Torii Taro, with Akira, with Toei, I mean, if they see profit in Dragon Ball, they're gonna fucking continue. These companies care about money. There's nothing wrong with that. However, in terms of meeting to expectations, do you believe it'll fall short, or do you believe it'll excel the expectations going even beyond this year? And I'm gonna start with you, Emish.
I think going into the new year, it was a smart move, I think, to save this next arc for February. I'm not sure why they chose February, honestly, but at the same time, I think they have enough time at this point to just really make sure this is not just a hit and miss. You know what I mean? So I think they've learned. Obviously, they've seen the feedback. Perhaps, again, like I said, there's two different viewerships. So a lot of the people were okay with what happened with the whole Trunks thing. Surprisingly, a lot of people were like, well, I don't understand. Why don't you guys understand? Like, this and this. But then other people were like, what the hell was that? Kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? So at the same time, I think I'm expecting, and this is as a viewer, especially if they're profiting from it, I have to expect nothing short of the best. You know what I'm saying? So at this point, I think we've already gone past the whole fan service thing. We've pretty much gotten everything as from the Mufuba to Matt, like we mentioned in the beginning of the video of this discussion. We've gotten pretty much everything at this point. So now it's just more about how are they going to develop certain characters. The only thing we haven't received yet, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to bring it up, and at the same time, I don't want to get everybody riled up. Some might agree, some might disagree. Though I think one of the many things we haven't gotten yet is a decent or legitimate return of, you know who? Gohan. So you're right, exactly. So I think that's what everybody's really counting on at this point. I think a lot of people are like, well, if we don't get Gohan, I don't care. I'm not accepting anything.
With the exception of most, because most are gonna be like, we already gave up on him. He's a bitch.
That's what I'm saying. But granted that we're not gonna get anything from Gotenks because of his character. He's just too silly. We're not gonna get anything out of present Goten and Trunks or anything like that because they're just kids and they're being kind of like they're not. From what we see, they don't have any involvement in the next upcoming arc, I guess. So the only characters that are left are primarily Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan. So I think the spotlight is going to be on those three. And me as a viewer going into 2017, I'm expecting nothing short of the best. So I'm going to give them. I believe in them. I don't think they're going to mess this up. And it's going to be a whole new year for them. So obviously there are going to be ups and downs, but at the same time, I do feel like they are going to deliver something to us strong. The only thing is, it's our job to give them a chance and just wait and see what happens.
Okay, I mean, fair enough. Paul, what do you think here?
All right, so what I would say is that 2016 was a great year for Dragon Ball, and the fact of the matter is that Dragon Ball has a very specific formula, and it's just the power to go beyond and always have something else to improve on. There's a lot of things that Emmett just pointed out that they have a lot of things to improve on. There's a lot of people that they're not utilizing in the show besides Goku and Vegeta. Next year, they can do that. They can have the return of Gohan. They can have the return of the Z Warriors and stuff like that for the tournament. So I think there's plenty of growing room, and as you guys have seen in this year, Dragon Ball has a lot of staying power. I have a lot of people in like my circle, like friends out here that don't even follow anime, but they still keeping up with Dragon Ball Super, and they're just waiting for the English dub. And it's like Dragon Ball has always had this staying power in the community, no matter what it is. And I think this year was like really the return to form with all the new content.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I definitely have to agree, and I would like to hope that they definitely improve going into next year, because on a grand scale, it's like, if you think about how big this tournament's going to be, this is a massive thing they got going on. So yeah, I mean, they can't afford to just half-ass it, because if they do, you can expect a lot of backlash from a lot of different people, because unlike the Champa tournament, we have something that's, at risk here. We have a wager. We have something that's on the line that's bigger than just one planet. It's the lives of trillions of creatures and people out there, I just really hope, like you guys have said, that Dragon Ball meets those expectations. I think they will. However, I'm going to be honest, I think that at some point they may drop the ball, because as grand as this may seem, it just seems like it's too big of an idea for them not to fuck up in a way, and I really hope that they don't fuck up. But I do think that alongside the lines of what happened this year, there are going to be moments where, characters are underdeveloped and things are going to go unexplained. As you guys pointed out, the manga definitely holds the key to explaining more of that. But post your comments down below, guys. What do you guys believe about Dragon Ball Super? What's going to happen? Do you guys like what happened this year? Did you guys hate what happened this year? Do you guys agree with Emish, with Paul, myself? Post your comments down below, guys. I wanted to say on my behalf and everyone else, we wish you guys a very merry and happy new year. You guys can go ahead and subscribe to Super Saiyan Paul and Dai Shinkan Emosh down in the comment section and description below. Their channel links will be there, guys. Thank you both for being here. I hope you guys have a wonderful new year as well, to you and your families. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like down below. Subscribe for more content, obviously enough, and we'll be seeing you all in the next episode. Take it easy, guys. Peace.